Okay, dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the final video for the Guild Raid level 10 series and we are facing Gelidus. For his passive, he is immune to all magic damage. He also targets 3 enemies and also causes bleed on his basic attack. Which is why it's very important to have bleed resist on all your heroes, because bleed is a very devastating CC which deals damage when you get hit, and that's something that you definitely do not want to happen to you. For his awaken skill, he deals fixed damage only and also burns. For his 2 skills, he blinds and also burns and decreases buff duration to 4 enemies each. So all in all, he has a total of 3 status effects that he can cast: bleed, blind and burn, the 3 Bs. So that's something that you really have to resist against, otherwise your heroes are going to take so much damage. So we are using Mei, of course, and the way to do this for this team, which is the pretty standard team you guys should have seen from my Brilliant Slaughterer as well as Shadow of Ambition videos. This is kind of the BFF team, BFF support team: Eileen, Live Streamer School and Yuri. Now again, if you don't have Live Streamer School, don't worry, you can use Regent Lave, because Regent Lave will provide you with a lot of block rate reduction on Gelidus, or you can also use Rudy for more bulk. But we will be looking at the Rudy team for the second team. Okay, that was a much better team in my opinion, and I actually was able to do 91 million. Okay, with the other team. This team, I think it only hit about 70 plus million. Okay, despite this team being more damage oriented, which is very interesting. So clearly, you know, the skill rotation also remains the same: Yuri's bottom skill and then spam with Mei. What you want to do is try to use the exploit vulnerability buff as close as possible to the awaken skill so that you can make the most out of it. Again, okay, in this case, remember that I've always been mentioning this in my Guild Raid videos, if you guys have been watching, that you want to get Mei's HP as low as possible. And because this isn't a case like Valika, because Mei is able to reset her awaken skills, right? So you are able to use Yuri's awaken skill at a much later pace without any issue. You don't have to rush awakening gauges or anything like that. So you can actually try to monitor this and hold on to Yuri's awaken skill before using it. Okay, make sure that Mei's HP goes really low. And you realize that I'm actually not casting Aragon's skill. Okay, I'm actually not casting Aragon's skill. I'm gonna let the awaken skill of Gelidus hit through. And I think this is one of the most important things in that run actually. That is to not reduce his awakening gauge and to let the fixed damage come through. Because this is actually one of the main methods of how you can get your Mei's HP down as soon as possible. Of course, with Aragon, you really want him to survive, because he's the one that is able to provide the reduction in crit rate from Gelidus and also to buff your single target. He actually buffs single target damage up to 50%, which is 20% more than Mei, and that is something that you will want to capitalize on, which is why earlier on I actually used this awaken skill already. So once you have done that, you will be safe to spam with Mei's skills. Okay? You can see that roughly my Mei is able to do about 4.8 million now after taking 1 hit from the awaken skill, and her HP is kind of at 75% right now, around there. And yeah, actually basically again for Mei, the skill rotation wise, there's nothing too much to worry about. If you're thinking that you're taking too much damage, again you can always use Yuri's top skill to reduce the attack of Gelidus, and that will allow you to take far less damage, especially for your frontline, because he does hit 4 targets, which means there's a chance that he will not hit your Mei, and in that case, you know, you can protect your frontline even better. The frontline is actually pretty important in this case, especially for Mei, especially Aragon. He's pretty frail, and the frontline completely just supports Mei's damage output, so you really want them to survive in this raid. Also realize that I've given them full resistances, except for some that do not need blind resist, like Eileen, Live Streamer School, Yuri. They actually don't need blind resist because they are not exactly damage dealers and they are not going to do anything you know, with their basic attacks or skills. Okay, the ones that need blind resist the most are Mei and Aragon, because Aragon is here to counter and also reduce your cooldown for you so that you can spam Mei's attacks more efficiently. So you slowly start to see Mei's damage rack up, and I think that's one of the best things. Again, remember, always look at your debuff. If your debuff is running out, remember to cast it with Yuri, otherwise you are not going to be able to do any damage to Gelidus. Over here you will see that Aragon is actually dying, so I have to save him. So I use Live Streamer Scoot's heal here. Apparently my heal is not that great because I didn't really give her much weapons. Okay, so this is something you have to weigh for yourself. Do you want her healing to be a lot, or do you want her healing to be just right? Okay, that's something you have to try to manage. Because when she heals too much, then your Mei is going to regain all that health that she has lost, and her damage output will not increase. In fact, it may even decrease, okay? But, you know, in order to preserve Aragon, that's your only way of keeping him alive, which is to heal. Now if you find that your Mei skills are not ready in time, you can always use Yuri's bottom skill to cool them down, but I don't really find that a common behavior, okay, because I feel that Mei skills are always, at least one of them is ready, you know. So you don't really have to worry too much about the skill cooldown. If both her skills are on cooldown, chances are she will have her awakened skill ready, or Aragon is going to help you cool them down, so you don't have to worry too much about that. Yeah, as you can see, Mei's damage has decreased because of the healing. So unfortunately, that's the bad thing. You can't help it, really. You can't help it. I can't tell you that, you know, leave Aragon to die because he's so important. Of course, Gelidus does a lot of basic attacks, and somehow I feel that he hits my backline more than Isabella can hit Bellica in the backline. So, which is a good thing. Okay, because this allows Mei's HP to drop even faster so that she can do big damage early on. Now around turn 30, this is where things start to get very painful. Unfortunately, my Aragon dies here due to old age. Yeah, so this is where you will want to be more cautious about your HP, because at turn 30, his damage output is huge. Okay. Also take note there's no point in casting Yuri's awakened skill because he is a defensive enemy. Yuri only increases damage dealt to magic, offensive and universal enemies. Okay. And you can see that once Aragon dies, Gelidus' crit just starts coming in, and I think that's the more critical part because he can do a lot of damage. Right now it's turn 31. You see that the damage is huge and he just sliced my team very quickly, and yeah, this is the most I can get out of this team. Unfortunately, Yuri died, so I don't know why I did not crit at that point because Mei is supposed to have 100% crit. But anyway, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, so that was the run. I hope it was helpful. This is kind of the team that most people will use because of Aragon's usage. So here I have Mei on double lethal, HP, PvE, physical attack increase, crit and lethal damage increase, and increase awakening gauge so that she's able to spam her awakening gauge faster, because we do have Aragon as a cooldown reducer already. Also, you want to have the Celestial Sharpness, which increases damage on the defensive heroes. For her traits, you really want to give her all three resistances against Gelidus, and also increase lethal and crit damage on defensive enemies. And of course here I did give her a counter fighter soul because I don't have other fighter souls that are preferred. Okay, so the counter fighter soul can work in some ways, sometimes it's good because when Gelidus does basic attacks and it has the chance to hit Mei, sometimes Mei will counter with effect attacks, and that's good. Yuri with HP, defensive jewels, and Willful Ring, same thing. Make sure you give her bleed and burn resist because these two are crippling statuses and can decrease her HP very quickly. In fact, your whole front line, should have the bleed and burn resist. Aragon, crit, double crit because I want him to lifesteal more. Counter, lifesteal, defense, and status effect resist rate. This status effect is very, very important. If you don't have the PvE one, use the Follower of O1, Willful Ring with lifesteal. Okay, the reason why I say it's very important is because even with the traits, 90% resistance, he will still be dealt with the CC, and I have met it so many times that he still gets burnt, blind, or bled. Okay, so that is very important. And for Live Streamer's Gold, okay, HP, some weapons if you want her to heal more, and then defensive jewels as well as Willful Ring. As you saw just now, her healing was not amazing. Yeah, so that was my setup for her. For Eileen, HP armor, defensive jewels, and Willful Ring as well. Moving on, we have the next team. This team is suggested by my guild leader, Dark Neo. He is also the user for this team, so he is this is tried and tested, and of course this is actually my first time. This is my first run, believe it or not, using this team, and I'm amazed. I'm really amazed. So the idea is to use the triple offensive heroes with Dilo, with Rudy. Okay, Rudy is here to increase your defense and block rate by 50% of your entire team. So that is a huge deal. And you might think that actually won't this counter against the idea of a Berserker Ring, because you are taking far less damage, and a Berserker Ring, is going to be less effective in that case. Yes, you are definitely not wrong if you think that way, but you have to also consider that now we are using Dilo. Okay, Dilo is going to help to boost that damage that we are able to deal a lot more. We also have Colt and Fenrir, who is going to help with the lethal side, the buffs, and physical attack. Okay, so you can see that the damage I'm dealing is okay, it's decent, it's already kind of slightly more than I won't say more, I actually didn't compare the damage, but yeah, I think it is actually pretty good. And you saw that because we don't have Aragon here, the crits from Gelidus will definitely come in. Okay, but with the defense and block rate increases, this is not going to be a huge issue at all, to be honest. Okay. In fact, Rudy can heal you. So if you would like some heals, you can also use Rudy's top skill, which also gives you skill nullification. So in case you are very sure your team can still sneak in a few moves, your Mei can still do a few DPS moves, and you want to protect her, you can always use skill nullification, which is gonna benefit you a lot. To be honest, I did not know how far this team will go because I tested the previous team first, and of course we know how strong the previous team is because of the lethal damage increase, the crit damage increase, the 50% in physical attack increase, right? And over here we do have only Colt, who provides 40%, but we also have Fenrir with lethal rate increase, which doesn't really affect much. But yeah, so I was initially having some doubts that this team can actually prevail better, do better than the previous team, but it turned out completely fine, and we did even better. You can see that the damage we are taking is extremely low, we are all being blocked, except for Mei. So if they were to target Mei, even if he targets Mei, wow, look at that damage. 2 million on the basic attack. So yeah, with this team I can also, I'm safe to use my stamp set, right? I can use the skill cooldown stamp set, I can use my storm set. So I guess that's also a good point because of the lethal, because my stamps are on the speed weapons, so I gave my Mei speed weapons for this case. Yeah, you can see the damage we take on the front line is really not a lot, and Fenrir himself can continuously heal as well, so that's not a very big issue. And the damage, you see that May's HP is actually pretty low. Okay, this is from the Awaken skill that has been continuously coming in, and she will only be taking damage from those Awaken skills of Gelidus and random counter attacks or basic attacks that Gelidus may do. But your front line is extremely healthy, so you don't actually have to worry about healing too early, you know what I mean? Because previously we had Aragon. I won't consider him dead weight, but he will let you heal, he will require you to heal for sure. Yeah, and also, yeah, one thing is that we don't have Aragon here, so technically our damage should be lower because we don't have 50% increase in single target damage. We are only relying on May's 30%. Yeah, so that's another thing that, you know, we ought to have lower damage output. But because we have much greater survivability, it turned out that going defensive is actually a better offensive approach. Interesting. And I have to say that my Mei has been doing a lot of random basic attacks and effect attacks in this run, so I guess I was kind of lucky as well. But I think even without those, your Mei should still be able to do very good damage with this kind of setup, because it's very bulky and you really won't take too much damage. And yeah, because Gelidus does fixed damage on his Awaken skill, so this will help to be the main Mei HP reducer. The rest of the attacks that Mei takes will not be too heavy in terms of damage, and I guess this, in the long run, right, in the long battle situation, this is actually helpful because then you can control your Mei's HP better and you know how many Awaken skills she can actually take before going down.
여우의 혼부려 달빛 아래 흩날려라.
Of course, some skill rotation knows. Oh, look at the counter, it just happened. Yeah, so some skill rotation knows you can always use Fenrir's top skill, like in this case, to boost Mei's damage output. And my Mei is actually quite dangerous on the HP side. I can't remember what I did. But you know, looking at this right now, I probably waited and to use Rudy's Awaken skill. Not Awaken skill, top skill. So this is the amount he heals. He heals her up to about half HP, which is very good because incoming here is the fixed attack, fixed damage, and I got 0. So yeah. I think in a more ideal situation, you will cast the Rudy shield earlier, maybe one skill earlier, and let the fixed damage come through, because fixed damage is still the main damaging way. But did you see the amount of damage Gelidus did to me just now? 18,000, that's more than the fixed damage. So I'm a bit thankful because he actually brought my Mei's HP all the way to a very low percentage, and he does not touch Mei after that, so I'm still able to squeeze in all these skills. Maybe I squeezed in one more Awaken skill from Mei, that is. And yeah, with that, right before Mei went down, we were able to deal a very good amount of damage. And of course, I just carried on because I know my heroes are actually, you know, physical damage based. So I just let them fight on and see how much damage we can push. And this was the result. So from 90 million, we actually pushed to 91 million. I think they did about 200,000 in total. And I think this result is extremely satisfying. Okay, I think it's one of the best runs I've seen for Gelidus. Maybe you guys have Even veterans, feel free to share your teams below. So for me, I've given her double speed because we have Fenrir here and we know that she buffs her crit rate all the way to 100%. Fenrir is here to give 50% lethal rate, so looking at this screen, you will know that she already has 96% lethal rate. Okay, the HP armor stays the same level once. PvE attack increase, crit and lethal damage, and for this case I gave her skill cooldown because I want to spam more skills in between because we don't have a cooldown reducer, so that's my logic behind this. The rest of the traits and accessories are the same. For Yuri, same thing as well. I don't have to talk too much about Yuri. For Cult, HP armor, defensive jewels, and willful ring. Same for Fenrir, defensive jewels, willful ring, and in this case berserker ring because I know he heals a lot, and when Gelidus hits him pretty hard, he will be able to heal even more because his HP is at a lower percentage. Okay, of course the weapons here are just to buff his physical attack so that it will help his healing. Finally, we have Rudy. My Rudy is not plus 10 by the way, and he is on HP armor, defensive jewels, and willful ring only with bleed and burn resist of course. And that is all. And in fact, I think my Fenrir and Rudy are both not plus 10. So yeah, only my DPS. In fact, I would also say Cult should be able to survive if she wasn't plus 10 as well. So this is not a very high budget team. You don't need to plus 10 your heroes for PvE. Okay, so I hope this video helped, and if it did, do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Big shout out to my channel members ZMD Phoenix, Yamaki, and the Mocha Cafe for their support. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much and see you.